What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here for a little week one football talk. We did the super hot take right out of the oven video Monday morning where we didn't even have anything in any tools yet. It was kind of almost in real time because I recorded that Sunday afternoon, right after the 4 o'clock games ended. And I wanted to dive back in and kind of revisit now that we've kind of had a few days. The card markets had a couple days to marinate on everything, let the flavors marry together and soak in, and see if, do these price trends continue? Do they now level off? They spiked up, level off, and kind of hold there throughout the week for these super hot players after week one. Who is seeing a pullback? Because I think that's something that takes a little bit more time. Prices you could see going up instantly in real time. Prices sliding, you typically have to wait for auctions to end or people just panic selling posted and super low buy it nows. We are definitely not at that point of the season yet, or no one had like a catastrophic injury or anything like that where to lead to those things. So we're going to run through a couple hot players, hot cards, a couple things going down, a couple things going up. Just kind of dig into week one of the NFL season before we kind of start heading into week two here. So like, comment, sub, all the YouTube stuff down below. And if you want to check out Market Movers, we'll be using a lot of it today. Link in the description down below, along with the coupon code for 20% off your first payment, whether that's a month or a yearly sign up. So, with all that being said, let's dive in. Up on the screen here, just to start to talk kind of broadly, I have price movements by card up, filtered by football, PSA 10, and rookie cards only. And as I like to do, I have it sorted by total number of sales, and I'm going back 7 days. Now, on price movements by cards, you are forced to 7, 14, 30, 60, etc. You cannot put custom ranges in like you can on popular card charts, but that's fine. I'm recording this Wednesday evening, so this takes us back to a few days prior to week one, just to kind of see where we're sitting at here. Quick scroll through the old list. Oops, I have that set a little too high. You see Kyler Murray, Paper Donruss at the top of the list. Not super surprising there. Kyler Murray base Prism, once again, not super surprising there. Kyler Murray pretty much came out as the number one hottest player of the week, I'm going to say. I saw more cards of his going up than any other. Not necessarily all by the same amounts, but he definitely had the most traction, most buzz coming out of week one. And we'll look at some specific cards in a second. Right below that, once again, more 2018 base Paper Donruss. These always seem to be at the top of the lists. They're reasonably priced. They're not bad looking cards. You see Lamar there in the green, just barely. Going down, Daniel Jones, definitely one of the losers of the week. We'll look at one of his cards in particular, but his base Prism's down $20. They did not play well. They did not look good. The Giants are not a good team, and I would be concerned. Burrow down a little bit, down $24, 14% decrease in him. Not super surprised. I just think the Bengals are a mediocre team at best in a stacked division and a stacked conference. And that's going to cause Burrow problems. Even if he plays well, the team's not going to look good, in my opinion, which is going to hurt his card prices overall. To me, Burrow is one you keep your eyes on, and at some point in time, his stuff's going to get a little too cheap, and you buy it, and you just sit on it until the offseason. And then when it starts climbing back up again, maybe it's at the NFL draft. Who knows when the football market peaks, but there will be a time to unload him in the offseason. They make a couple moves or whatever, bring in a free agent. Next thing you know, his prices spike. Burrow to me is a very interesting buy low player because I do like the player. I just don't like the price given the team. Josh Allen, we're going to talk about him more in a second. He's definitely one that has seen a slight decrease. We talked about this prior to the season starting. A big reason why I did not like Josh Allen and did like Baker and Kyler were because of the price points, quite frankly. Josh Allen had a ton of stuff, same with Herbert, had a ton of stuff baked into their prices already. And if they underperformed at all, their stuff was going to start sliding backwards. We haven't seen that with Herbert because he played pretty good. But we have seen that with Josh Allen. We'll look at a couple of specifics of his cards. The flip side, Kyler Murray stuff was very reasonably priced, in my opinion. he balled out week 1, and his stuff went up anywhere from 15 to 30 to 40%, depending on the card. Another one that had a pretty rough week, Saquon Barkley. I don't think this is unexpected at all. Coming off the ACL injury, started slow, is going to be limited in his workload, and the Giants are not a good football team. That is a recipe for disaster on cards. But scrolling down here, you do see more green than red in general. Some Herbert stuff going up, some going down. I still worry about Herbert's prices in general. Here's his base prism actually sliding back a little bit, down $33. Once again, for the same reason as Burrow, now the Chargers are a better team than the Bengals, but stacked division, stacked conference, and they really need to play extremely well just to even sniff the playoffs. So we'll see what ends up happening with them. They're in a shootout game this week, most likely, so he could see a little bit of a bump up. Dak Prescott, to me, was the other big winner of the week. He had a lot of his cards going up. Tua had some stuff going up. Let's hop into some individual cards, and we'll talk more about some of these players. Josh Allen, we talked about earlier, having a little bit of a pullback on his base prism. A few of his other little bit nicer cards sold. This is his PSA 10 Select Premier Level Silver, actually, which, surprisingly enough, sells for less than his base prism, which I find crazy. This is down almost 25%. One sold right before the game, one sold after. $1,100 down to $835. And this was at auction, this $835. So that's a pretty healthy chunk based off a one-game sample size. You know, if for some reason they play bad again, you know, I talked about this. I think Dakota talked about this. I think us and Flipping, a bunch of us have talked about this. There's going to be a very interesting window at some point in time in this early part of the football season where there's going to be some really good names that you could swoop in and buy on the low that you might be able to flip again before the end of the season if they bounce back in the second half. Josh Allen would definitely be one of them if his stuff keeps sliding. On the same note, this is his same card, but in base, not silver. Also saw about a 20% hit, down from 475 to 375 in just less than a week. One sold a couple days before the season at 475. One sold on Monday after the season at 375. So 20% takedown on Josh Allen. And I think, you know, we're kind of loosely seeing that across the board. Mentioned Daniel Jones earlier. He did not look good. The team did not look good. I just don't think he's a very good quarterback, quite frankly. This is a select field level base, which would probably be his premier base card out of 2019 select, is down a whopping 40%. From $90 to $50. A select field level PSA 10 for a starting quarterback at $50 is absolutely insane. That pretty much tells you all you need to know about how the market feels about Daniel Jones. Not great. Long story short. Some guys going up. Let's look at Kyler, some Kyler stuff here. Base Prism PSA 10 over the last 7 days, up 13% from 350 to 400. It's bounced around a little bit. It actually got up over 400. We see it right at 400. There was a few sales over 400. It averaged out to be right around 400. Pretty good for a base card to jump 10% based off 1 week. I wouldn't be surprised if this keeps going if he plays well. Some of his other cards have seen bigger run-ups. For example, this is his field level silver PSA 10 from Select. A 20% bump. Went from 785 to 950. Once again, field levels do still seem like they get some respect out of Select compared to Concourse and Premier level, which I do think has taken a little bit of a hit as a brand because of how 2020 Select is viewed in both football and basketball as being an overprinted, watered-down product, even though 2019 Select and prior don't fall into that. You know, this is his PSA 10 field level silver is only pop 426. That's really not that many. This is a really nice card. And to get that for around 785 to now 950 seems perfectly fine. But that did see a bigger price increase than his base Prism, which only went up 13%. This jumped 20%. Deebo Samuel probably had the biggest, craziest rise out of the under the radar players. I'm not big on position players. You can make money on them. I just think it's way too risky. If I had Deebo Samuel, personally, I would probably be selling as fast as I possibly could. This card prior to the game was going for $30, is now up to 80. Now, there's not a lot of these because it's a position player. Not a lot of them got graded. 2019 Prism, only just about 400 of them in PSA 10, but 150% increase in prices. This is what you were waiting for if you have Deebo Samuel cards. I would be unloading as fast as possible, in my opinion. That's just me. I don't like to have money tied up in position players. I just think it's way too risky, especially a receiver. They can have multiple down weeks in a row and then blow up again. And in the meantime, their prices fluctuate all over hell. So I don't want to ride those waves. When the wave looks like it's cresting, even if it's the first wave, I'll go ahead and jump off there, take that money, and then I would rather sell Deebo right now, sit on the cash for a couple weeks, and then maybe buy one of these quarterbacks on the dip if you want to reinvest back into the football market. Or take the Deebo money and go buy basketball before the basketball market goes wonky. Another one that went up, James Winston. We talked about him on Sunday. He was one of the other big winners of the week. This is his tops, or this is his Prism, sorry. 2015 Prism. Pretty low pop on these, only 112. Up from 230 to 285, a 24% increase. This is another one. I don't want to ride the Winston bandwagon. Yeah, he threw for 5 touchdowns, but he threw for like 50 yards. It wasn't really 50 yards. It was like 125 yards. I'm just not a big believer in Winston. He had that crazy season with the Bucks. I had him in fantasy that year where he threw for 1 million touchdowns and also 1 million interceptions. He's just not someone I want to be hitching my wagon to. There are much better players I would prefer. So once again, if you got into Winston at bargain basement prices, which you very well could have because his stuff got pretty cheap, I would take that money and run. On the profit side, this is everything that you could have hoped and dreamed for. Don't get cute with it. Sell at least some of it off. Once again, we talk about this all the time on the channel. If you really enjoy the player or think the player has tons of upside, buy multiples because it makes your selling decisions easier. If you have 5 Winston cards, you could sell off 2 this week, 2 next week, and then hold 1. So if he really, really goes nuclear, takes the Saints to the Super Bowl or whatever, you still have that one asset, but you've protected yourself from the downside risk of him imploding by taking your money and run on the earlier sales. So it's a perfect blend of get your profits, make money, and still roll the dice with a card rolling it down the road. Now, it could backfire on you because if the player didn't break out, you have multiples of the player. Now you're stuck holding the bag, per se. But more often than not, if you're smart about your buys, I truly believe the system will work out for you. I have personally done extremely well with it and really used it to my advantage. And once again, we talk about this all the time. Buying is easy. Knowing when to buy something is really easy. There's a bunch of charts and graphs that tell us when something's at a low. Knowing when to sell is a whole different ballgame because your mind gets involved with it of, oh man, I became attached to the card. I don't want to let this go. I think it's going to keep going up. Oh my God, I sold and this card went up and I kicked myself for 100 years. Whatever. Those are the ones that stick in your mind, not the ones that you sold and then they immediately went down 2 weeks later and you're thankful that you sold. Those ones you forget about. The ones that stick are the 1 or 2 that it went nuclear after you sold. That stuff's going to happen sometimes. That's the game that we play. As we also like to say, you never go broke taking a profit. Sell it, get the money, make the next play. Limit your downside risk as much as possible. This is an extremely volatile market. When this stuff goes up, you make 2 or 3x on the card, whatever number you feel comfortable with. Just sell it. Don't get cute. Get the money, make the next play. Next up, Jalen Hurts, PSA 10 Prism, up 27%. This is a silver. Was $1,000 prior to the game, almost $1,300 after the game. He was one of the other really big winners of the week, in my opinion. He played great. Perfect opportunity against the crappy Falcons. Their defense is terrible. Hurts was an amazing fantasy quarterback the last few weeks of the season. He got no real respect in the offseason. All the rumors about Watson going there. His stuff was very reasonably priced. We'll see if he can keep it up. I am intrigued by the talent from a fantasy football perspective. I don't know that he's an actual, NFL winning quarterback. We will find out, but I'm intrigued. I always get suckered in by the rushing quarterbacks in fantasy. And same in the card market. I don't have any Hurts. I don't own any Hurts, but I am intrigued by Hurts. And the prices points that you could get him at were very reasonable prior to the season starting. That is not the case now. His stuff has gone up, but we'll see if we can keep it going against an actual real opponent. This is another Hurts card. This is his base Donruss, just something on the little lower end. This went way up. This was $66 prior to the season, $95 now for a 43% increase on his base Donruss card. Fairly low pop on this at 138, but still a nice come up on that. This is artificially low from PSA being closed. So there's a little bit of a trap mentality here because not a lot of these got the PSA before they shut down. So just kind of be aware of that. That population report will increase on that. Gronk, the old Gronkinator, played out of his mind on Thursday night on my bench in one of my most important leagues. I ended up winning that game anyway, but Gronk had a really big night on Thursday Night Football. We see here, prior to the game, it was 176. It is now sitting at 265, a 50% increase. Gronk's one of the best tight ends to ever play. Absolutely insanely talented and looks revitalized, to be quite honest with you. He came back last year. I don't know that he was 100% in football shape or ready to go, but he's had a full offseason now of knowing that he was going to play, and he looked younger and fresher than I've seen in a while. So I think Gronk having a big season is not completely, off the table. We will see. Needless to say, Gronk will be in the starting lineup in week 2 for the Neo franchise. One last one to talk about. Same team, same type of player, Reclamation Project. Antonio Brown. Overall on the week, prior to the game, $55. After the game, $100, up 78%. Very nice bounce back for Antonio Brown. We will also see if he could keep it going. Same thing. Last year was kind of a messy situation for him, to say the least. He's had a full, clean offseason, came into this season with his role established, team established, knowing the system, and if he gets back to even 85 to 90% of Steelers Antonio Brown, he's going to have an absolutely monster season. He was a beast in his prime with the Steelers. So, trust me, as a Browns fan, I am well aware of watching Antonio Brown tear up the field. So, we will see if he can keep it going. Very nice price increase for him. He would be another, once again, all these guys, but my general take with football is when you have the profits, take them. The only one that I would be, out of everyone that we talked about, the two that intrigue me the most are their quarterbacks, not surprising, are Kyler and Jalen. Kyler, I could see maybe not immediately selling everything right away and kind of riding the waves there. Hopefully you have multiples. Maybe you have 5 cards. You sell one off this week, let it ride in the week 2, and slowly sell it down and kind of see how the season goes. I do believe in Kyler overall as a talent, and that team does have a pretty good offense. He has good weapons. The defense is pretty good. This is a solid all-around team. I'm not sure about the coach, but they are in a very tough division and a very tough conference, so we'll see what happens there. But Kyler would be the one I would probably look to maybe hold a little bit longer than these other guys. The position players, when I can make money on them, I'm taking it and running, forgetting about it. Jalen, I'm also a little intrigued by, just to kind of see how that situation plays out, but I might be skewed because I do have him on a Dynasty League bench as a backup quarterback, actually backing up Kyler Murray, funnily enough. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Very interesting week 1 in the football market. We will see if it continues to week 2. If the players that have big weeks in week 2 see massive price hikes, and what happens with the players from week 1. If Kyler comes out and balls out again, what happens to his prices? Do they keep escalating or do they level off? Same thing with Jalen Hurts and some of these other guys that saw big weeks. Or if Jalen comes out and poops the bed, are his prices immediately going to crash back down again? And then also guys like Josh Allen, if they bounce back, do their card prices immediately bounce back? If he has a bad week, do they slightly pull back again even more? These are all the interesting questions that we don't know, that only time will tell. So we will see what happens in week 2. Regarding week 2, I'm not sure. We'll probably just to see how Sunday goes. I will keep an eye on prices, and if things seem to be going wonky again, I'll probably do a video on it for first thing Monday morning. If it looks to be more relatively normal / stable, I'll probably hold off a couple days and do a video more like this style where we actually have some sample size and some data to it. So we'll just kind of play it by ear and see what happens. But like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. We will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.